Okay.
Father's Day 2020.
Yeah, my father's name was Elefterios. That's how Lily got her name, Elefteria. You know, from my father's side. So my father was also a great man. Like in Greece, we have like the coffee shops where everyone, every man after work, they would gather there, they talk, drink their ouzo, and so on. And then when it was time for dinner, they would, we would come home. Like Ty said, our father didn't have much time. It was work and more time with his friends than with us. Like we would never play together with my dad and so on. And we're 8 kids, so of course. So she was always a fighter. Like she was always worked very hard. During the war, during the war, a lot of people were dying from hunger. All over in Greece when Germans were there. So my father was with a friend of his. They were stealing gasoline from the Germans, and the German guard would let them do it, but they got caught.
This is your dad?
My dad.
Your dad was stealing gas?
Well, gasoline at that time was gold, and with a tank of with a little gas, you could buy a lot of things. You could buy food. You could buy things that were scarce, but gasoline was more scarce at the time, more valuable. So that was one thing but the German guard will let him, do it, blind eye. So they got caught. The German guard was the first one to be executed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, yeah. So my dad was also picked up with his friend. They were going for execution. But my dad's, like a cousin, was an interpreter for the Germans, for people that were getting caught. She was, the interpreter there. So she heard about it. Oh boy. So she went and begged the Germans, and they let my dad go. The other guy was executed. So the German, because the Germans would not accuse their own people of doing something. So that's how my dad, she was always, fighting for the family. Now she was a contractor. She would take a house from the foundations to finish. And that was, his job. So mostly in summertime, he always was busy. But at winter time with the rain, especially in the island and all that, pretty much construction was very well dead in winter time. But she was able to still, at least our family was able at later years to buy whatever we wanted from the grocery store. And when my father would get a job, would pay off. So we're never really, after that, because right after the war, also a lot of difficult years came on. So my father didn't really have that much difficulty with that. And also my father was so popular, you could never, if you asked my father for anything, you could never say no.
Your dad could never say no to anyone.
To anyone.
So if anyone asked him for money or food or whatever.
Money for a contractor, the most valuable thing is his family and his equipment and the finished wood they have, because in Greece, most houses, they have a cement roof, right? So you gotta have all that finished wood and all that to be able to do that, So my father was constantly buying wood. So any friend that would ask for, for instance, even a competitor, they have enough wood for something like that. My father would give it to him. 9 out of 10 times, we had to go and get the wood back and clean it and all that and put it in the little warehouse that my dad had. And always my dad would say, I'm never going to, give anybody anything. and then the next guy would ask him something, just give it to him. He was the most valuable, but the most lovable guy in the, in the coffee shop and so on, you know. But like your dad said, he was spending a lot of time, most of his time, with his friends and so on. Yeah, but that's how it was. It wasn't just my dad to say why was my dad like that. Most parents were like that. Like in today's society, like say from 1 to 10, they won't get more than 2, 3 points. You know what I mean? Like as a family man.
Right.
But like he was working for the family. He always worked. He always like work hard, and but that's how it was then. You know.
So Dad, Elefterios was born in Crete.
Who?
Your dad.
My dad came to Crete Island. He was living at the Turkish side. So at that time, the Prime Minister of Greece made an exchange because a lot of Turks were living in Crete Island because Greece was under occupation for 400 years or so under the Turkish influence. So there was a lot of Turks living in the island. So what he did, he brought the Greeks that were living on the Turkish side to the island and took the Turks back to Turkey. That's how my dad and my mom actually, came to the island. I mean, they didn't know each other. They were little at that time.
Your grandparents, they go before your dad born in Mytilene, and your father.
I know that, but originally they were in Turkey,
And they go to
and
Syria.
they live in Mytilene just for a little, not for much. That was like they stopped in Mytilene for a year and a half or so, something like that. Not for, and it was temporary, temporarily.
It's okay.
Yeah, they were temporarily.
Okay.
They lived temporarily in Smyrna till the Turks would evacuate Crete, and they would go and take over, divide them, like the land that the Turks were living in. So that's how, became there.
So Dad, how old was he when he came to Crete Island?
I think he should be more than 10 years old.
Okay, so he was a kid.
Because my mom was, I think 6 or 7.
Your mom.
Yeah, my mom, 8. Yeah, maybe 8. Yeah,
Okay.
so my dad was the 2 years difference. So my dad would have been around 10.
What was your mom's name?
Chrysula.
Chrysula, and was her Chrysula what?
Chrysula Kulukusi.
Kulukusi. How did Chrysula and Elefterios meet?
Or they at that time, they didn't go out,
No.
to have a meeting between themselves. Then there were the parents were.
Well, the parent introduction.
Yeah.
Introduced for the wedding.
Yeah.
And how old were they when they got married? About.
Boy, how old was
Your mom?
I don't know. I think my mom was what, 17, 18?
18.
Okay, 18. Okay.
Yeah.
And when did they buy the house?
So my dad was small, about 20.
He was 20. Okay. Now, the house that we visited
Yeah.
on Crete. Now, what's the name of the street again? Freedom Street, right?
Yeah, Freedom.
What's it called?
Freedom.
Peace and freedom.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce that street?
Not freedom. Philia is more like.
Yeah.
Like
No, Irene.
Irene
Irene.
is peace.
Yeah, peace. Yeah.
So what's the name of the street in Greek?
Friendship and peace.
But in Greece, in Greek.
Irenis and Feliz.
Okay, when did they buy that house?
Or that house, they built it.
Around.
They built it themselves.
Okay, so your dad, as a contractor, built the house.
Yeah, when he got married. I
so
don't know how. To be honest,
You were born in that house.
I don't know how.
You don't know how they bought the land?
But it was no. I think it was given to them when they moved to Crete. Okay, actually they was moved. See, like there's another house in front of our own. Okay, all the property way down. What is another house far down belong to us.
Oh,
and the other side where the old olive tree is.
Right.
That olive tree, all the way down, that was my dad's sister,
Okay.
his sisters, and she sold it to somebody. And my dad in the war, he sold all the property all the way down.
Okay.
For a bag.
I want to get that. I want to get to that story, but I want to finish this though. So he got that. The property
And the exchange.
when they married, right?
Yeah, like the parents.
And then when the
Yeah.
parents gave it, and then they built the house.
My dad's parents.
Okay, great.
Gave it to them.
And that is the house, kids, that you guys went and visited. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me the story. This is an interesting story you guys want to hear.
Yeah.
That because during the war, the land became not as valuable as actual food and
Right,
gas and
right.
stuff.
For
So
a
what did
bag
your
of
dad?
flour,
Yeah.
You could sell a lot of land.
So your dad had all this property at the time. Is that right? Or your family, or who was it?
Yeah. And my grandparents, they have a lot of property, which.
Do we know how many acres?
Huh?
Do you know how many
No.
acres? From where to where? From the highway?
Okay, you know where our house is.
Yeah.
You see how the street goes
That
down?
main street by the pharmacy.
Okay, well, not the next house, but there is another house way down.
Mm-hmm.
Way down is on the right side. There's a house.
Right.
Right up to that point,
Uh-huh.
all this piece was belonged to my father.
And then during the war, what do you?
Well, that's when they sold it for a bag of flour.
So they sold all this land for a bag of flour, right? I mean, yeah. And now, by the way, now you drive in, and it's totally built up, like completely built up. Okay, now what?
And I just wanted to ask you one thing. So during World War II, your parents were in their early 20s and had 4 little kids
During World War
during
II,
the occupation.
Yeah.
Lucas.
Yeah, like when I was born, the English was still after the war. The Englishmen were still in the island. Because we were on the same side, and they came to fight. In fact, my dad was protecting 2 Englishmen. She was hiding sometimes in our house and so on. So when I was a little kid, like 1 year old, I could hardly walk. I was the fattest kid in the whole area because the 2 Englishmen were bringing me, whole boxes of milk and stuff like that. Other kids didn't have it. I had as much as I wanted, more than I really needed. So kids, I want you to hear that. My dad was the best man. He never lay a hand on us, never, but we would never realize that, like I've told you before, that we could talk back to my mom or my dad. Never, okay? So just remember that, don't forget, okay?
So, Dad, you lived in Crete Island
Yeah,
until what? Until
until I was 19.
19. And the day you left, they tested electricity in your house.
They already had the installation, everything done. And that night, before I left, they tested the lights for 5 minutes or so, just for testing.
Okay. So
Water we didn't have in our house
no water.
till a month or so after I left.
Okay.
That's when they brought in the neighborhood.
Water.
We used to get water from, where the supermarket was
Right.
down, was there. That's where we had the one.
Carried up.
The one.
Well, like a well.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, like was a sink. Proper.
A
sink.
faucet.
Yeah, faucet. Yeah. And people would get in line. Some people with a horse with 4 canisters on, and you had to wait in line with somebody to finish. And after that, we would get our canister or whatever we had and carry all the way up where our house is.
Yeah.
So if we had, my mom had laundry, we are not talking about that now.
That's
When
okay.
my mom had laundry, we had to fill up a 45-gallon drum just carrying up and down, and that was
So,
things were-
so Dad, when you left at 19 years old, your dad was still alive.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
And when did he die?
It was I was 82.
Probably
She was 67. Wait a minute.
He-
She was 67 when he died. She was born in 9/15, and 682. She had to be 82.
And how did he die?
Well, my dad was suffering from asthma, and he never listened to doctors. Never. Like he was driving a motorcycle, moped, and the doctor told me, especially in Greece at winter time, always rains, and wind and this and that. The doctor had told him for years, not to ride and not to smoke. And she was a heavy smoker, never stopped smoking till he died, And that's how he died. She was in a hospital. My mom in Aleppo went to visit him on a Sunday afternoon, and she was fine. She was talking to them, but when you have an asthma attack and nobody's there to help you right away, she did that. And that's what happened. My dad was in the same room with another older man. And my dad, as soon as my mom left in Aleppo, had an asthma attack. And the other guy used to call for nurses, nobody showed up, and after a while, he finished.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dad.
So by the time Aleppo and my mom went home, they called it that he died.
And you were in Florida at the
I
time.
was,
Toronto?
in 82, we were still in Canada. And when we were in Florida, my mom died
Yeah.
when we got in Florida.
So they called you and told you Dad passed on.
Yeah.
God bless him. God bless him. Any questions for Papu about Elefterios? Yeah.
When was his birthday?
When was his birthday, Dad?
What you got me there? I didn't remember mine. I was celebrating mine in the wrong month.
Dad, do you know his birthday, Mom? Elefterios?
What was his favorite book?
Actually, in Greece, we didn't that's why also it's hard to remember. Because in Greece, we didn't celebrate the birthday.
Okay.
It was a name day.
Sounds the name day.
So it was Ios Elefterios
Elefterios.
day, So if you look at the calendar, you see what the...
What did your title? Like, what was his?
Well, the Ios Elefterios, yeah.
What day?
15. December
Oh, December 15th, same as mine.
Yeah, well, of course.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
December
Yeah.
15th.
Well,
So we did celebrate at the time in Greece birthday. It was name day.
And what's funny too is they're the ones that host and give to people. They don't really receive presents, right?
Yeah.
You're the one that hosts.
Oh
and
yeah,
they're-
you were
don't
hosting
get
your
the
house,
presents.
especially in the island. Okay. Now 2, 3 friends.
Hey,
will
Dad,
gather
Lel,
and say,
yes.
let's go now to Lefteri, like to my dad's house. Or they had 2, 3 people with the same name in the neighborhood. So they stop by our house. They have a couple of shots and this and that. My dad could have something, prepared and so on. Then they go to the other friend and so on. Then there could be some other friends coming. You know what I mean? That's how they celebrated. You didn't invite people for your birthday, They just come as a gesture,
Anything else you want to share about your dad?
No, what I said before, she was a man that if you asked for something from him, she could never say no, sometimes to his detriment. You know what I mean? It wasn't, sometimes
Yeah.
it was most of the times backfire.
Yeah.
Because we had to go and carry the wood, clean it from the cement and
Yeah.
the nails they had and all that. We go there, spend hours trying to clean it, then carry it to put it.
Yeah.
And then she would say, I'm never going to do it again, and never, whoever asked for that, let him go and buy it, this and that. The next guy would ask,
Can't even do it.
that's how we think, what you need. That's how she always was. Yeah.
That's a touching story, Dad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What a man.
Okay, let's hear it for Elefterios.
Bravo, bravo, bravo.
Bravo! Thank you, Dad.